with Bret Hart addressing rumors of an AEW arrival and more. This is Wrestling Hub. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report for May 7th. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at WrestlingHubOfficial and also follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. Talking about the undisputed Universal title reign of Roman Reigns, Booker T said on his Hall of Fame podcast that he could see the Tribal Chief as champion for the next 2 years. Yeah, we talked about that. We talked about Cody may be able to slip in there. Then somehow maybe it will be able to flip back before WrestleMania and we can still do the Raw. But of course, right now Cody Rhodes coming back and saying the title that my dad didn't win, it seems like we're going that route and doing something along that route. I don't know. I would not be surprised. I'll tell you right now, I know what Cody wants, but I would not be surprised if Roman had the title for the next 2 years. Card subject to change. Booker would also speak about the potential future of Roman's faction. I'm not going to sit here and say I would be surprised if I saw something like that, but I would not want to just start adding members to the bloodline. It ain't broke. I was reading, I think Naomi was considering putting her in the bloodline at one point. You go, okay, what will that do for the bloodline? What is that going to bring to the bloodline? It's just going to bring another element. Is it another element that we need? That's the question. So, I don't know. I do know this. There's enough Samoans out there to where if Roman Reigns in the bloodline and the family was to find themselves in a predicament to be able to insert certain factors at certain times, I could tell you this wouldn't be a bad idea. Last year, during the pandemic, Drew McIntyre would have his WWE title reign ended at Elimination Chamber when The Miz successfully cashed in his Money in the Bank contract. After attempting many times to get the belt back from then-champion Bobby Lashley, McIntyre would be involved in various feuds over the year. As he recalled his frustration while speaking to New York Newsday, it got to a point where things went off track, in my opinion a little bit, and it was hard to tell without the live fans there if it would have been okay. Right about the time where I fought Lashley a couple of times, I was telling these interesting or not so interesting Scottish stories. That period maybe was not one of my favorites, but hey, send me a challenge and I'm going to try and pull it off. Nonetheless, there was a period where I felt like this doesn't feel like it's quite working right. I remember I did an interview at Money in the Bank, the first live show with fans back in attendance. When I first popped up on the scene, I heard the big cheers, but I also heard some boos, and I try to be a self-aware superstar in every way, and I'm a fan, so I feel like I have a good gauge about what's working and what's not working. And if someone told me, you're going to tell this glorious story about the Loch Ness Monster, I would have said, no, I'm not. I would not do something that I'm convinced is not going to work unless I'm told by the man himself, WWE Chairman Vince McMahon, you're doing this, which he's not going to do. A lot of people would just take the paper and complain privately to people in the locker room perhaps, or to themselves, and then maybe down the line, if they're not with the company anymore, in interviews, rather than trying to work together with the creative writer you're with and saying it doesn't feel like me. And if you really feel strongly about it, go to the boss himself. I know a lot of people are intimidated to go to Mr. McMahon, but in the end, he's the boss of the company where you work. In an office, if you want a promotion, or if you have a significant question about your life and career, you go to the manager of the office. In our world, Vince gets the final say, and he's very open. His door is always open. He's always going to listen. If you feel strongly about something, he wants to hear your opinion because he wants the best show possible. While it's been teased over the weeks that fans would be seeing a title unification bout between the Raw and Smackdown Tag Team Champions, it's instead turned into a 6-man tag team match between the Bloodline and Drew McIntyre and RK Bro. Talking about this on Wrestling Observer Live, Dave Meltzer pointed out that the WWE Chairman broke a rule of his own with these promotional tactics. You know, it's weird because Vince has a rule. He doesn't have a rule against false advertising, because he does that all the time, but he does have a rule as far as building up something that he eventually will not deliver, and there is no plan for a unification, or at least there wasn't as of a couple of days ago. That can always change, although it makes no sense to do it. So I think there's a good chance there won't be. So as far as why he did it this way, I have no idea, honestly. I think that it's probably something they thought would draw ratings. It doesn't look like they want one set of tag team champions. Given the previously mentioned feud, there's been superstars appearing on both main roster brands of WWE. Also, on Wrestling Observer Live, it was noted that Fox could be looking to keep talent on SmackDown exclusive from Monday Night Raw on the USA Network. They don't want to keep that crossover between Raw and SmackDown going for a long time. Both networks kind of want unique rosters. You can do some of that back and forth, but really Fox in particular really wants kind of exclusivity on its guys. With his profile being removed from the AEW roster page earlier this week, Stu Grayson took to Twitter to give fans an update as he wrote, "On April 30th, my contract with AEW expired. Best of luck to everyone working for AEW, our great production and medical team, and of course every man and woman who steps in the ring. And to my Dark Order family, I hope the world will soon see what you are truly capable of." With the AEW debut of W. Morrissey, formerly known as Big Cass, it seems that he has attracted the attention of his former employer. On the McMahon Pro Wrestling podcast, Andrew Zarian noted, "I'm not going to say that WWE is going to take him, but I can tell you that WWE is definitely impressed by him. There's no way around it, man. I got a message last night while he's coming out and somebody wrote, 'Did you see this effing guy?' I got a couple of messages about him from people wanting to know when his contract ends." On his Hall of Fame podcast, Booker T spoke about the push Austin Theory has been receiving in WWE and compared him to John Cena, saying, "We wanted to rally behind Cena. Cena was the guy who, there again, was a little bit different than most. He knew where to get the knowledge from. He knew the only way he could get to the next level was to go through certain channels. John Cena checked all those channels and watched them all, from myself to JBL, all the way down the line. This kid sat under the learning tree to become a good performer. Not the best wrestler in the locker room because he was just not the best athlete in the locker room, but he became an awesome performer just because of the knowledge that he got throughout. That's the one place I think Theory is at a disadvantage. Theory doesn't have a lot of guys like myself and a lot of veterans that were around pushing for John to get to the top." Speaking with On the Turf, Raw Women's Champion Bianca Belair touched on wanting to defeat the current SmackDown Women's Champ Charlotte Flair. "I've had a lot of success very quickly in WWE, and I'm very grateful for that. I'm the Raw Women's Champion. I just defeated Becky Lynch at WrestleMania 38. Right now, I feel like I'm at the forefront of a new generation of women's wrestling. You have the 4 horsewomen who came in before me, Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, and Bayley, who really paved the way and broke barriers for women. They don't have to go anywhere. Just make some room for me. I've already defeated 3 out of the 4 horsewomen, and the only one I haven't defeated is Charlotte Flair. So I'd love to go up against Charlotte Flair and try to conquer her. So that's really my goal for the future." Coming off the Rebellion pay-per-view where he defeated Moose to regain the Impact World title, Josh Alexander was involved in a car accident. As he uploaded the video and wrote, "My 7-year-old thinks it's lame to tell me he loves me. I always tell him and say, we say I love you just in case we never get another chance. We say it as much as we can. This is why. Tell your people, whoever they are, everyone's fine. Seconds or inches saved us. We are very lucky." Speaking of Impact, a former world champion is set to make his return to the promotion, as Fightful reported that Sami Callihan is set to return to action soon as this weekend's set of Under Siege tapings. Callihan has been sidelined since last fall with an injury and was scheduled to be out until mid-2022. Those that we spoke to say he's factored into Impact's Slammiversary plans and is scheduled to face another former world champion. As we continue to get closer to WrestleMania Backlash, Cody Rhodes is ready to face off against Seth Rollins in a rematch. After SmackDown went off the air last night, Cody was talking to fans still at ringside when a young boy jumped the barricade to see him. Yesterday, Tammy Sytch, better known to WWE fans as Sunny, was arrested on charges of DUI manslaughter after toxicology tests confirmed she was under the influence at the time of the accident where a 75-year-old man was killed. She is facing 30 years in prison. PW Insider reported that Sytch was set to appear this morning in front of a judge, with her bond set to $227,500. While AEW had been teasing the arrival of Bret the Hitman Hart, it's recently been reported that the company is under the impression that Hart signed a deal with WWE. Talking about being a part of AEW, Hart told Lucha Libre Online, "Well, I'm happily retired. I'm a home guy now, and there's not a lot I can do in wrestling. People say, what are you going to do? What would you do in AEW? And it's like, what would I do? Referee? Manage? Be a chairman? It's like, I don't want to be remembered that way. I want to be remembered as a wrestler. I'd be happy to help a lot of them, and I know a lot of them, and I talk to them. A lot of them sometimes by text or on the phone, and people call me up. I always get advice, and I can always pinpoint little things that can make a difference in a guy's match or something he's done, but I'm a guy that likes being home, so they're gonna have to call me on the phone. It's not something I wish I could go to stuff more easily, but I'm getting a lot older now, and it's getting harder for me to keep flying around and doing stuff. I gotta pick my days that I can do stuff. There are a lot of things I would love to be a part of AEW and what they're doing. I know they've got some great wrestlers there, and I have a lot of respect for the organization and all that, but right now, I'm happy at home." And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.